Dream Car Update brings you another story of humanity, hope, and how small moments can lead to life-changing connections. It was a chilly spring morning in Vancouver, Canada. The city was just waking up. Coffee shops opening, buses humming, and the air filled with the scent of rain-soaked earth. On a busy sidewalk near Granville Street, a man named Daniel Hayes hurried through the crowd, clutching a folder and his morning coffee. Daniel was in his early 30s, tall, quiet, with tired eyes that told a story of sleepless nights and constant worry. 3 years ago, his life had changed forever. His wife, Mia, had passed away unexpectedly after an illness, leaving him to raise their 7-year-old son Oliver alone. Since then, Daniel had done everything he could to keep his little family afloat. He worked as a delivery driver during the day and picked up extra shifts as a mechanic at night. Money was always tight, but he never let Oliver feel the weight of it. Every evening, he'd help his son with homework, read him bedtime stories, and whisper, "We're going to be okay, buddy." That morning, Daniel was on his way to a job interview, one that could change everything. A logistics company was offering a management role, something far better than his usual hourly jobs. He was nervous but hopeful. As he crossed the street, he didn't notice that his old, worn-out wallet had slipped from his back pocket and landed in a puddle near the curb. Minutes later, a woman named Sarah Mitchell walked by. She was in her late 20s, carrying a tote bag and a steaming cup of tea. Sarah worked at a local community center, helping underprivileged families find resources and support. Her life wasn't perfect either. She'd gone through her own share of challenges moving to Vancouver after losing her job in Toronto. But she had one rule she lived by: always do the right thing, no matter how small. When Sarah spotted the wallet, she bent down, picked it up, and wiped off the rain. She looked around, hoping to spot the owner, but the crowd had already thinned. She opened it just enough to see a driver's license. Daniel Hayes, address in Burnaby. There were a few bills inside, a picture of a little boy, and a note that read, "For Oliver, never give up. Love, Dad." Something about that note hit her heart. She smiled softly and whispered, "I'll find you, Daniel Hayes." That evening, after work, Sarah took a bus to the address on the ID. When she reached the small apartment building, she hesitated. It looked modest, with a faded red door and children's drawings taped to one of the windows. She took a deep breath and knocked. A few seconds later, Daniel opened the door, looking surprised. "Hi, can I help you?" he asked. "Are you Daniel Hayes?" She replied, smiling. "You dropped this today." She held out the wallet. Daniel froze, realizing what had happened. "Oh my God, I didn't even notice." "Thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means." Sarah smiled warmly. "I saw your address on your ID. I hope it wasn't too forward of me to come here." "Not at all," he said, visibly moved. "I've had a rough week. This wallet has everything. My ID, my bank card, even a photo of my son. You just saved me." At that moment, a small boy peeked from behind the door. "Dad, who's that?" Daniel smiled. "This is the nice lady who found my wallet." Oliver grinned shyly. "Thank you, lady." Sarah laughed. "You're welcome, little man." Daniel invited her in for a cup of coffee as a thank you. They sat in his tiny kitchen, the aroma of instant coffee filling the air. As they talked, Sarah learned more about his story, how he'd lost his wife, how he was raising Oliver alone, and how hard he was working to build a better life. She listened quietly, her heart aching at his strength and humility. "You're doing an amazing job," she said softly. "Most people would have given up." Daniel looked down, smiling faintly. "There were days I wanted to, but every time I look at him, I remember why I can't." As Sarah left that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had met someone truly remarkable. Days turned into weeks. Then one afternoon, Daniel showed up at the community center where Sarah worked. He was holding a bouquet of simple daisies. "Hey," he said, smiling nervously. "I just got the job I interviewed for, the one I told you about. And I wanted to thank you properly. Dinner?" Sarah was taken aback, then smiled. "I'd like that." Their dinner was simple, burgers and milkshakes at a diner near the waterfront. But their laughter was effortless. They talked for hours about life, loss, and second chances. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something he thought he'd lost forever: hope. As months passed, Sarah became a regular part of Daniel and Oliver's lives. She would visit on weekends, help Oliver with his school projects, and sometimes join them for movie nights. There was no rush, no forced romance, just kindness slowly turning into something deeper. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the balcony, Daniel turned to Sarah and said, "You know, when you knocked on my door that day, I thought you were just returning a wallet. I didn't realize you were returning my faith in people." Sarah's eyes softened. "And you reminded me that sometimes helping one person can change two lives." A year later, Daniel proposed to Sarah at the same diner where they'd first had dinner. Oliver was sitting beside them holding a small sign that read, "Say yes, Sarah." She did. Their story went viral after a friend shared it online with the caption, "The woman who returned a lost wallet found her forever family." News outlets picked it up across Canada, and soon, Daniel was invited to share his story on a national morning show. He said something that touched millions. "Life has a funny way of giving back what you lose, but only when your heart stays open. I dropped my wallet, and in return I found love, hope, and a new beginning." The story inspired countless people across the country. Communities started organizing Return It Forward campaigns, where people shared acts of honesty and kindness. The local news even reported a rise in lost items being returned. Wallets, phones, purses, all because of one single dad's story. A year later, Sarah and Daniel launched a small foundation called Second Chance Hands, helping single parents across Canada get access to emergency funds and childcare resources. Their message was simple: honesty can heal, kindness can rebuild, and love can start in the most unexpected moments. By 2026,